When you click to start the experiment, you will see a display that looks like this, and then you just click this with your mouse to get some instructions. This experiment has two parts. In each part of the experiment, you're going to be making decisions about the clarity of two objects. In one part of the experiment, you will compare the clarity of a rake and a mop. And in the other part of the experiment, you will compare the clarity of a jukebox and traffic barrel. The order of the blocks is randomly determined. Whatever you do first is going to be followed by the other. So you're going to eventually be doing both of these comparisons. When you press a key, you're going to be given more instructions. So in the experiment, you're going to see two pictures. So in this situation, a rake and a mop, and these will always be shown in one of two contexts, either on a background of leaves or in a grocery store. The objects have been edited in Photoshop to make the rake and mop more or less blurry. And your task throughout is simply to decide if the blur level of the two objects is the same or if the blur level of the two objects is different. If you were shown the objects below and to the left, you would say different because in that example, the rake is blurrier than the mop. If shown the example below and to the right, you would say same because the rake and mop have equal blur levels. If the two objects have different blur levels, you're going to press the M key. And if they have the same blur levels, you're going to press the K key. You don't need to memorize that. On every try, you're going to get a key for making those decisions. This will be a difficult task because the images will be shown rapidly. Just do your best. So let's start with some practice. That was 5 practice trials. You are going to do 7 groups of 88 trials. And then after that, you're going to do the same thing, but with the other objects. The second portion of the experiment is the exact same, but now you're going to be making decisions about the other objects. And those are always shown in the context of a street or a diner. And again, the objects have been edited in Photoshop to make the jukebox and traffic barrel more or less blurry, and your task is to decide if the blur level of the two objects is the same or if the blur level of the objects is different. Each portion takes around 14 minutes if you go straight through. So I know it can be a bit tedious, just give your eyes breaks. Remember, you are getting reimbursed for this. At the very end of the experiment, you will see a display like this where you will be given a 3-letter word and number. So in this example, I'm given the word U98. When you press a key, it's going to take you to a survey where we're going to ask you to enter that word and number. We are doing that so that I can link the information from this portion of the experiment with your responses to that survey, but that information is not going to be linked with your name. This experiment takes around a half hour, this portion of the experiment, and then you're going to be asked a couple questions, and that won't take very long at all. If there's ever an error in the computer program, do not hit refresh on your browser. That will crash the experiment. If that ever happens, if you could take a picture of the display and then send that to me to tkahan@bates.edu, that would be really helpful so I can try to resolve the problem and give you credit if you were doing the experiment and something crashed on you. I just ran through it. It worked perfectly well, so that hopefully won't be an issue. But I just wanted you to know, do not hit the refresh button because that will crash the experiment.